I had to pick the desert. Why the hell did I pick the desert? Well, I suppose pick is a rather strong word for it. I'm still not entirely certain just how I got that console working, but it suddenly started cycling through holographic images of different destinations far from the island that I'd been living on. Of course, I just had to go and press another button while it was showing off one that contained miles and miles of bloody desert, and here I am. That's just typical of me, isn't it? Always leaping, never looking. Oh well, better make the best of it, and by that I mean better not die of heat exhaustion. My hunting skills are seriously out of practice. Not that I was ever spectacular, but I feel like I'd graduated from smashing bugs with a rock at some point. At least I was thoroughly rewarded for my efforts. My hunch was spot on. These big green bastards are carrying drinkable water on their backs, and thank goodness for that. I may have never known if I'd killed a red one first, since those carry oil instead. Far less useful when you're dying of thirst, let me tell ya. I may be fighting the inevitable, though. I'm still on foot and still alone. Definitely miss Athena. I'm on a roll. By sheer coincidence, I stumbled into another group of survivors today, and they didn't try to kill me or anything. If I didn't know how probability actually worked, I'd say this recent string of good luck is the universe making up for sending me to the bloody desert in the first place. The Carbineers were welcoming, and the creatures they ride are fascinating. They seem like dinosaurs, but they also appear to share some biology with camels. Bizarre! For all its oddities, the island never had anything like that. I'll have to study them. After a nap, all this desert survival's left me knackered. If I'd ended up in this place instead of on that island, I'd never imagined the ecosystem was natural, not for 2 seconds. Take these Merelatops. They're a cross between a ceratops, a Merelodon, and a camel. And the strangest part? There are places in its humps where you can stick a spigot and get clean drinking water. Tastes like piss, but not only is it safe, it doesn't even harm the Merelatops. It's crackers. Definitely the result of genetic engineering, but I knew that, didn't I? It's time to get to the why. Maybe studying the creatures here with my new perspective will yield some insight. Today I caught a glimpse of what the Carbineers called the Endless Dunes. The desolate sea of sand that apparently surrounds the livable portion of the desert on all sides. Now those dunes can't literally be endless, but it's easy to see why one would think that. Not only do they stretch to the horizon, but they're home to, get this, giant sandworms that will devour anything that sets foot on their domain. I laughed that off at first. Then I saw a creature the size of a train burst up from the sand and devour a wild Merelatops that had wandered into its territory. I suppose I'll have to learn to walk without rhythm. As absurd as the Deathworms are, I see their purpose. They are a natural barrier. If this whole place is a space station posing as a real ecosystem, then it needs to keep the wildlife and humans inside it contained in a way that appears natural. The island accomplished that by simply being an island, and the desert does it via the Deathworms. Granted, a large population of predators with ludicrous kilocalorie needs would never last long in a place as devoid of prey. But as this is an artificial environment, the station can feed or replace the Deathworms as needed. It's a little convoluted, but it makes sense. Time to go over the facts. Like the island, this desert is a space station posing as a natural environment. It is inhabited by a large population of dangerous, genetically engineered creatures and a small population of humans that are struggling to survive. This whole environment is then deliberately contained by a combination of a holographic horizon and natural barriers. Assuming the other space stations are at all similar, then this whole thing is starting to look like some kind of bizarre experiment on a grand scale. Yes, each station would represent an experimental group, and, I'll have to continue this later, one of the caravan's scouts just returned in a panic, something about rocks being alive, which of course is Redic. I long for the days when I thought a Tyrannosaurus frolicking through the snow was the height of absurdity. Compared to yesterday, that seems commonplace. As the scout had so eloquently put, the rocks were indeed alive. Alive in the shape of a massive bipedal golem and exceedingly angry. I was too shocked to scatter like the others when it charged, and for a moment I was certain that I would die. Then something even more ludicrous happened. Lightning crashed into the golem, but it didn't come from the sky. It came from the mouth of a bloody dragon. I don't recall much else. Fear and instinct pretty much took over for the rest of the day. And while that helped me survive, I'm once again on my own. I remember now, the dragon had a rider. Rather, the wyvern did. 2 legs means it's a wyvern. Struth, listen to me. Fighting to survive and still finding time for semantics. The rider was covered up too well to get a good look at them. Could it be Mayin? No, that's stupid. I don't know if she's even alive, much less in the desert with me. That would be just like her, though, to have tamed the meanest thing here so quickly. It's nice to pretend that a friend might be looking out for me, at least. We were sort of mates, right? Sort of. I could really use one right now. A friend, I mean. Well, I found a new best mate. The little fuzzball isn't exactly what I meant, but I'll take her. I've dubbed her species Rina Pyla and Plexus. They're small, cuddly little herbivores, and as far as I can tell, taming one has no practical use. I just couldn't let her starve to death, though. I guess all this rubbish with golems and wyverns has squelched what was left of my scientific instinct to leave nature to nature. At least we provide each other with a little warmth at night, and her antics have helped me keep my spirits up. I suppose I'll need to give her name. I may have been wrong about Rina Pyla not having a practical use. Earlier today, my furry new companion started bouncing around so excitingly that I couldn't calm her down, and then soon enough it started raining. I brushed that off as a coincidence, but soon after, filling my water skins and setting off once more, she started acting skittish. I decided to find shelter just in case, and within minutes, light rainfall had turned into an electrical storm. I'll need more evidence to draw any firm conclusions, of course, but I wouldn't mind having a fuzzy little weather radar with me. You know, it's a little on the nose, but radar's not a bad name. Thank goodness that I decided to find some high ground 2 days ago, or I'd never spotted this settlement. That's twice now that I've stumbled into my own salvation. I can't count on that happening again. I'll need to stay here for a while and prepare before setting out once more. Fortunately, the villagers are willing to let me trade work for supplies and shelter. Another stroke of luck and another factor I can't rely on. On the island, Rockwell's name got me far, but here I'm just another stranger. Not everyone will trust or help me. I need to be prepared to survive on my own. In some ways, surviving on my own was less work. At least then, I wasn't conscripted into manual labor. Ugh, my whole body feels sore. I bet I wouldn't have to work if I was as adorable as Radar. The whole village is in love with her. I swear they spoil her like a furry little princess. Rockwell would be livid about this arrangement. I can just hear him ranting about treating scholars with propriety. I hope the old Brit is doing well. Maybe when I've broken this mystery wide open, I'll figure out a way to get him off the island, and we can discuss it all over tea like old times. While my mind still can't recall the last time I fired a gun, my muscle memory is much better. According to my would-be instructor, I wasn't a complete disaster on the firing range. I'm no pacifist. Death and violence are a part of life. That's just nature. Yet, a gun still makes me a little uncomfortable. The idea of shooting at another human just seems instinctively wrong to me. I couldn't even fire at the new Legion back on the island. But I need to pull my weight. The villagers have been welcoming and patient with me. For their sakes, I need to practice. I may have to put my freshly polished marksmanship skills to the test sooner than I thought. A hunting party spotted a swarm of giant mantises heading in our direction. Yes, giant mantises. I haven't spotted them with my own eyes, but the villagers have spoken of them every now and again. They say the insects have these little hands that can actually grip and wield weapons or tools. Sounds absolutely loony, but so is the idea of a mantis swarm at all. They must share ghost mantis distaste for cannibalism. No one seems keen on fighting them, but they're too close to outrun. Hopefully, they'll just pass us by.